I've never successfully grown corn, but I'm a farmer now, so that's the first thing I'm going to plant. We'll be doing a landrace style planting with as many different varieties as I can find. With all these different genetics mixing together, the next generation of corn should be much better adapted to our environment. And after a few seasons of planting those seeds, we'll have our own variety. But that's not the only reason we're growing corn. In our sandy soil, to maximize fertility, we're going to need a whole lot of carbon in our compost. And corn stalks are perfect for that. So let's get planting. In a few weeks, I'll have a seeder to help me get through this a bit faster. But for now, all the seeds on my farm are going to be planted by hand. But just so you know, this is a terrible way to run a farm. Please don't do this. I'm super impatient and I don't mind sacrificing my back.
Hi, Cleo.
But you should be smarter than this. I've already given you the disclaimer that you shouldn't be planting corn by hand. But if you're in my position and you're forced to, you should definitely stretch out some kind of marker to keep your plantings in a straight line. Although you may not think it matters, having a gap for good airflow is really important for preventing things like rot while the plants are growing. And once the corn is ready to develop ears, it allows for a greater rate of pollination, because corn is wind pollinated. And I don't intend to be out here for any longer than I need to, doing something that nature will do for me. Between these two rows, I left an 18-inch gap with an 8-inch in-row spacing. And in my limited experience, that's just barely enough. On a farm where you're trying to make the best use of space possible, it's better to squeeze in plants as much as you can. But for home gardeners like you might want to give each of these plants a little bit more room. Planting with more of a 1-foot in-row spacing will decrease the plant's water needs. One of the things I like the most about this garden starting method is how fast it can be once you know what you're doing and have a little bit of practice. It took me about 10 minutes to get this bed set up. It's 30 inches wide and 50 feet long, and I could plant into it immediately. I'm using these festive outdoor cup holders as place markers for laying out my measuring tape. Just like the last row, they're 18 inches apart. And just like the last row, I'm planting this by hand. After placing my measuring tape and popping some more corn in the ground, we were done. With the corn at least. We still have a few more roots to add to the soil. Now we just need to wait for the corn to grow. But until then, we'll be switching our focus to my favorite part of the farm, the fruit trees. Now, I'm sure if you watch any other gardening channels on YouTube, they tell you to fertilize your fruit trees. I don't. After digging a hole and popping the tree in the ground, I water it in well. And that's it. The logic behind this is that I want my trees to search for their own nutrition. And adding fertilizer to the planting hole, although it does set up your trees for a good start, the main thing I'm interested in is long-term success. So ultimately, I want these trees fending for themselves. But we're not leaving these trees completely devoid of nutrition. As our sheet mulch breaks down, that'll add a small amount of nutrients to the soil. And because mulch is breaking down continuously, it's kind of like we're always giving our trees a low-grade fertilizer. Right now, I'm pulling the sheet mulch back from the roots so that I can better direct the water right to the plant. I'll be coming back later to water them more thoroughly and then add some mulch. I've planted a lot of fruit trees over the years, and with all that experience under my belt, I've gotten pretty picky. The trees I'm planting today are some of my favorite cultivars. So if you guys following at home want to plant the same types, I've got a list of the varieties coming up. But trees aren't the only things we're putting on this farm. We've only got a half acre of plantable space, so we have to make the best use of the different planting layers that we can. For the root layer, we'll be using sweet potato, and I've got a full box of starts from the old food forest. I cut each of these potatoes into about 2-inch segments, so we should have plenty to plant. And by now, you guys probably know I have a thing for straight lines. So after laying out my measuring tape, and pre-digging a few holes, all I had left to do was pop them in and cover them up. We still had plenty of sweet potato starts left, so after finishing up the first row, we moved on to the second. That's all for now. Next time, we'll be checking on the potatoes and the corn.